Good evening, everyone. Tonight we're standing in a kitchen that smells like vanilla and apology, where an ivory cake sits too close to the edge, and a ribbon refuses to curl the way the internet promised. So before you get too comfortable, take a moment to like this video and subscribe, but only if you truly enjoy what I do here. And in the comments. Tell me where you're listening from and what time it is. I like seeing our little constellation of night owls. Now, turn off the lights. Maybe let a fan hum in the background. And let's begin tonight's journey together. I turned 68 at 2 in the afternoon, which is when the light in my little dining room gets soft and opinionated. And the dust looks like it has places to be. The cake was store-bought with dignity. The plates were paper with flowers that didn't apologize, and my son Dylan arrived with his wife Lana and a bouquet that believed itself expensive. "Make a wish," he said, already flipping through his phone like wishes require apps. I breathed, counted to 3, and before I could do the candles, Lana reached in an open hand, swift and sour, slapped me across the face so hard I saw the window twice. The cake wobbled. I did too. "Sell the house," she said, voice flat as laminate. "Before you hurt yourself, we've found you a place that handles memory." She glanced at Dylan as if reading a line they'd rehearsed. He looked at the floor the way people do when they don't want to see the thing they helped build. I put one palm on the counter to steady the room back into one room. The fan hummed. My cheek heated like a secret. I saw the vase blue glass, my late husband's favorite, and told it calmly, "Don't you even think about falling." Light joke number 1, the vase complied, which is more than I can say for some people. Here is a quiet rule I've learned: shock is a poor archivist. It misfiles details and stamps everything urgent in red, so I made a small inventory out loud. The way a librarian hums to herself when the shelves need reminding: 1 cake, 6 candles, a bouquet without water, a son with a soft mouth, a daughter-in-law with a hard hand. I said it for the air, not the audience. "Lana," I told the room, "my face is not a doorbell. Do not ring it." She blinked as if I had switched languages. Dylan reached for me, hesitation, then a useless half pat on my arm. "Mom, you nearly fell last week," he said. "Lana's worried. The stairs." "I didn't nearly fall," I said. "I picked up your daughter's sock and the banister was dusty." I touched my cheek, felt the heat organizing itself into a lesson. I will not be hit in my own kitchen. Elder wisdom for afternoons that shape the next decade when a line is crossed. Draw a darker one, and draw it quietly. You do not owe anyone an illustration. You owe yourself a border. They left with their bouquet and their script when I asked them to. I kept the cake because it had done nothing wrong. After the door clicked, the house and I took a breath together. I ran cold water over a washcloth, pressed it to my cheek, and listened to the ice maker negotiate. The mirror offered me a woman who had seen a great many decades and had not once consented to be managed like a plant. I called Franklin Ames, my old attorney whose voice sounds like paper that refuses to curl. "Franklin," I said, "I need to talk about powers of attorney and door locks and possibly the price of dignity." He didn't ask for gossip, he asked for dates. "Today is your birthday," he said softly. "Come in tomorrow. Bring your medical folder, your will, your deed, your list of passwords, and the part of your voice that doesn't shake." He paused. "Do you need a doctor now?" I told him what the cold cloth was already doing and promised to visit Dr. Patel in the morning for documentation because ink loves calendars. I wrote a list in the notebook that sits by the stove. The one with splatters that prove soup and plans can coexist, call the clinic. Freeze the credit, change the alarm code, move the heirlooms, retrieve the spare key from the mailbox rock, photograph the cheek, photograph the stare, Photograph the cake because joy is also evidence. Light joke number 2. I added eat cake to the list because lists deserve achievable wins. Academic phrase of the day. Undue influence is the public argument that a person's will can be bent by pressure. Isolation, or scripted alarms until their choice is actually someone else's choreography. The debate lives in probate courts and living rooms, in who gets to decide when help becomes a hand on the steering wheel at the wrong time. I set a chair by the window that keeps secrets kindly and watched the light let itself out of the room. The cheek's heat receded to a dull, organized throb. Somewhere down the block, a dog negotiated with a mailbox. I poured tea, held the mug to my face for warmth where cold had ruled, and then put the mug down when common sense coughed. Quirky, odd sidebar bruises are small chemistry sets. First, hemoglobin breaks into biliverdin, a green that belongs on limes, then into bilirubin yellow, like stubborn paper, then into hemosiderin, that cozy brown your shins wear when memory is literal. If you ever needed proof that time has a palate. Your skin volunteers as gallery. I thought of Dylan as a baby, his fists like punctuation, his cry with a question mark at the end. I thought of how I had told him the truth even when it cost me room temperature comfort. And I thought of the file I kept in the desk drawer labeled before, a thin manila promise that the past had not lost my address. People say secrets shape families. They do. But truth reshapes them slowly. With drop cloths, I would have that conversation with him soon, not as a weapon, as a map. I called Rachel Ellison in my contacts next because her name had been a kindness humming for months. We'd exchanged 2 letters and 3 careful phone calls after the agency forwarded my note. She is a family law attorney, fierce and unadorned, with a laugh that sounds like cabinets closing properly. I think I am your mother. I had written in February, she had said. And I think I am your daughter. We haven't told the whole neighborhood yet. We were letting our nouns stretch into the room. Tonight, I told her. Something happened, and she said, I'm coming tomorrow. Bring the tea you trust. Light joke number 3. I told the cake it could stop looking nervous. I was going to eat it instead of depose it. It iced no objections. I set the alarm with a new code, something Dylan doesn't know. Something I can remember without looking like I'm doing a magic trick. I slid the spare key from the mailbox rock into a drawer with a louder conscience. I carried the heirloom frame's wedding garden, a child on a sled into the bedroom and leaned them face in like art taking a nap. The house felt relieved to be asked to help. I slept in the guest room because it faces the magnolia that insists on blooming out of season, and I wanted to wake to a small rebellion that didn't bruise. The night kept its side of the bargain and stayed dim. I woke early to birds who don't read memos and made coffee strong enough to introduce itself to the day. At the clinic, Dr. Patel looked at my cheek, measured, photographed, and did that small, precise frown physicians do when their hands are cooler than their hearts. We'll document, she said. We'll also check balance, vision, and blood pressure, so any future fiction bumps into facts. She printed 3 copies because she knows paperwork breeds in offices that like fluorescent light. I'll write a competence letter, she added, gentle. Because sometimes the law needs reminding you can decide what to have for breakfast. On the way home, I stopped by the hardware store for a new deadbolt and a little satin bag of motion sensor lights. The clerk, young, pierced, kind, said, Installing these is like teaching your house to clear its throat. I like that. Back in the kitchen, I put the cake on a plate with a fork that minded its manners and sang myself a quiet, single singer happy birthday. I made a wish that wasn't magic. It was logistics that people who love me will speak softly and mean it. That locks will behave, that my cheek will settle, that my son will choose better scripts. and that no one will again assume my face is a lever. I opened the notebook by the stove and let the living room choir of index cards have their first lines on this chapter. What I accept, help that asks permission. What I expect, hands that don't audition for power. What I will do, bring my own nouns to every room with my name in it. Then I dialed Franklin to confirm tomorrow, texted Rachel that the tea would be ready, and sent myself a calendar invite titled Dignity Recurring because if meetings deserve reminders, so does the self. The fan hummed, the magnolia showed off, and the house, honest and awake, adjusted around me for a day that would not be narrated by someone else. By morning, my cheek had transitioned from operatic red to the serious yellow of a school bus, which is to say it had stopped auditioning for tragedy and started keeping records. I brewed tea that knew how to sit quietly and opened the door to Rachel Ellison, my daughter. Newly present in my nouns, carrying a tote bag and the kind of calm that fixes crooked frames with 2 fingers. We didn't hug like movies. We hugged like people who have homework. Kitchen, she asked. Kitchen, I said, because kitchens are courtrooms where soup is the stenographer. We laid out the artifacts on the table like a museum of very recent history. The clinic photographs Dr. Patel had printed measurements of the bruise, notes on balance and vision, and a competence letter that began. Miss Cole demonstrates clear understanding of her medical choices. The paper was unglossy in the way truth prefers. Rachel read it once, nodded, and slid it into a clear sleeve with the ceremony of someone shelving a rare book. Next, she said. I brought out the canvas folder where old documents go to take Knapp's My Will, the deed, the durable power of attorney from 3 years ago, naming Franklin Ames as swing vote if I'm ever truly out of the room. Beneath it lay something that did not belong, a half-completed POA on generic stationery. My name misspelled with an extra E. Signatures blank. Witness lines eager like a form practicing how to impersonate importance. I didn't print this. I told her. It wasn't in the folder yesterday. Rachel studied the font. From the internet, she said. Half finished is a strategy. It makes pressure look like we're almost done. She flipped the page. They left the notary block empty, which is how you know they wanted speed more than safety. Elder wisdom for mornings when paperwork tries on costumes if a signature line arrives before the conversation. You're looking at control, not care. Ask for names, dates, statutes. If the other party sighs hard enough to move curtains, you're in the right neighborhood. We installed the new deadbolt together, Rachel holding the plate. Me wielding the screwdriver like a woman who respects threats. The motion sensor lights went under the toe kick by the stairs, little moons that promise to wake when the house forgets to. Light joke number 1 when the first one flickered to life. I congratulated it on its new job as night concierge. It answered with a dignified glow, while Rachel labeled a red folder just in case, but not today. I called my bank to freeze the line of credit. The representative had the kind of telephone smile you can hear. Do you suspect misuse? Miss Cole, she asked. I suspect rehearsal, I said. And she understood enough to set extra authentication without treating me like a spectacular. We drove to Franklin Ames at 11. His office smelled like cardigan and stamps. He studied the half POA and frowned the way judges do in novels. They'll push this across a kitchen table and say the word emergency a lot, he said. They may also use the phrase, you'll thank us later, which is an aria in the opera of Gaslight. He drafted a revocation notice for any unauthorized POAs, updated my living will with fresh signatures, and wrote a letter on heavy paper that performed like a bouncer Miss Cole has designated counsel and declines to sign any instrument not reviewed by this office. He slid a PDF to my email and printed 3 copies for the fridge, the desk, and my purse. Tape it to the door if they show up with pens, he said. Let the page do the talking. quirky, odd sidebar in most states. A durable power of attorney needs either 2 disinterested witnesses, a notary, or both. The witness can't benefit from your estate. Translation people who stand to gain should stand to the side. Also, a notary stamp is more than a sticker. It's a tiny oath factory with an ink habit. We set a plan Rachel would be with me when Dylan and Lana came by to bring soup and clarity her text last night. Punctuation unsettlingly cheerful. We wouldn't accuse, we'd ask for dates, and watch the calendar tell the truth. The recorder on my phone would do its job without needing applause. No speeches, Rachel reminded me. Just anchors. Who asked you to print the form? Who called the facility? Who told you mom is forgetting? Let them choose their verbs. She slid a yellow legal pad to my side. And if there's yelling, she added. We let silence have a chair. At 2. A car door made a sound like a decision. The bouquet from yesterday reappeared, revived. Dylan walked in with his let's not be dramatic face. Lana came with tuppers and the tight smile of a person who considers benevolence an ab workout. Rachel stood at the counter like a lamp present. Warm, not theatrical. I poured tea, which is my way of placing an oath on the table without saying swear. Mom, Dylan began, we were just worried. I appreciate worry that knows my name, I said. Let's give ours some labels. I pointed at the half POA. Who printed this? Lana smiled. It was just a template. From where Rachel asked, soft as felt. Online, Lana said. It doesn't matter which. Rachel's smile remained, but her eyebrows acquired purpose. It matters for chain of custody, she said. Also, for forgery charges, depending. Dylan shifted. No one is forging anything. He glanced at Rachel. And who are you? My name is Rachel Ellison, she said. I'm Miriam's counsel for today. We're not litigating, we're clarifying. Also, I like tea. Lana laughed once, like someone tipping a jar for luck. You brought a lawyer to your own kitchen. I brought a witness to my own kitchen, I said. It's fashionable. Light joke number 2, I told the teapot it was our court reporter. It whistled on cue. What facility did you call? Rachel asked. Lana blinked. What? You told someone on the phone yesterday, Rachel continued, glancing at her notes, that Miriam has quiet dementia and a pattern of falls. You also asked about expedited intake with memory care track. Name the person you spoke to. I watched Dylan absorb the nouns quiet dementia. Pattern. Expedited. His face, my baby's face. Grown into a man folded like paper that regrets being folded. Lana, he said softly. It's clear as day, Lana replied. She fell. She repeats herself. She keeps secrets. I repeat what I don't trust people to carry, I said. And I keep secrets I intend to turn into truths at the proper time. Academic phrase of the day. Gaslighting the public argument that someone tries to make you question your reality by denying facts. Planting doubt, or scripting concern as diagnosis. There's debate about overuse, but when the story you're given contradicts the receipts in your hand. The term earns its keep. Some call it medical gaslighting when symptoms are reframed to fit someone else's plan. Rachel placed Dr. Patel's competence letter on the table, along with the bruise photos and the timeline. This is the record, she said. Here is today's blood pressure. Here is vision. Here is balance. Here is the new deadbolt. Here is the notice declining surprise signatures. If we are wrong, we will correct our nouns. If you are wrong, you will correct your verbs. Dylan looked at the paper, then at me. I didn't know she hit you, he said to the table. The kind of apology that hasn't found its own face yet. Lana's smile cracked like thin ice. Everyone gets emotional, she said. Your mother is fragile. She is 68 and makes a mean pot roast, Rachel said. Fragility isn't an automatic setting, it's a context, I added. also. I installed motion lights, so if I cry, the baseboards glow. Light joke number 3, and even Dylan, poor conflicted soul, managed a small unintended huff of laughter. We moved to specifics because specifics earn rent. Who told you to print a POA? Rachel asked. We just thought Dylan began. Who? She repeated. Kind as rain. A friend at work, he said. His mother has Alzheimer's. He said the sooner you get control, the better. There it is, Rachel said. Not unkind. You're importing a script from someone else's play. Different theater. Wrong lines. I pushed a plate of cake across the table. Hostility goes down easier with sugar. I'm willing, I said, to discuss the future in seasons where it belongs. But today's season is called I Decide. I tapped the competence letter, and the weather agrees. We set boundaries that looked like furniture, no entering without calling first. No accounts accessed without Franklin. No facility contacted under my name by anyone but me. We wrote them down and signed them because ink persuades where talk preens. Dylan signed, hand shaking the tiniest bit. Lana did not. She said she had to consider the legalities. Rachel slid over Franklin's letter. Consider this, she said. Also consider the charge called battery. Lana stood, shoulders sharpening. We will not be manipulated by strangers. I am not a stranger, I said. And let the sentence sit beside us like a chair pulled up for one more guest. I am your husband's mother. I raised him. I know how he sleeps when he's ashamed and how he laughs when he's forgiven. You are welcome to become our family's friend. You are not welcome to be its author. The silence after was good silence, the bowl kind that let soup cool to edible. Dylan took a breath, then another. I'm sorry, he said. I was scared. Money's tight. She said selling would fix things. Money's a coward when it comes to honesty, I said. We will look at the books. We will not sell the roof to appease your panic. I looked at Lana. And we will not practice medicine without a license in this kitchen. They left with their bouquets and the tuppers, because some people can't exit a scene without holding something. The door clicked. The house, sweet dear, cleared its throat via motion light and returned to steady. Rachel and I sat. The recorder stopped. We saved the file twice and named it something no one would click by accident. Broth Inventory 3. We texted Franklin a summary. He replied with a thumbs up that somehow looked like jurisprudence. I washed plates while Rachel wrote 3 lines on a fresh index card and handed it to me for the living room choir. What we accept concern that honors facts. What we expect family that signs boundaries with their full names. What we will do, keep the kitchen for soup, not surprise signatures. We taped the card next to Dr. Patel's letter and the door notice. The afternoon softened around us like a good scarf. Outside, a neighbor practiced trombone badly enough to be brave. Inside, my cheek slowed its yellow to something almost conversational. I brewed more tea. Rachel reached for my hand, not to steer it, but to match it. We sat in our kitchen courtroom with no case on the docket and let the room remember we were its people, not its defendants. Franklin called at 9, his voice carrying the careful weight of a file he didn't want to set down alone. Miriam. I'd like you and Miss Ellison to stop by, he said. There's a paper trail you should see before it tries to introduce itself to you in a worse room. We arrived with tea and travel mugs and the kind of quiet you bring to museums and new babies. Franklin's conference table had 3 folders, one mind sturdy, one labeled D. Cole thinner than it should be, and one with a name I hadn't said out loud in a long time, Ellison, Infant Adoption Records. My heart did the thing old houses do in winter, a polite creak before the temperature adjusts. He tapped the D. Cole folder. 2 months ago, he said. Dylan consulted a different attorney about a durable power of attorney for finances. They drafted language putting Lana as agent. It stalled no witnesses. 3 weeks after that, a private investigator contracted through that same office contacted the state archive to request a birth record correction and unsealing of adoption paperwork. The request cites medical necessity. He looked up. He was told to bring the adoptive parent, meaning you. Rachel's hand rested on the table, palm open, a landing strip in human form. I stared at the infant name. The old air in my lungs asked if it could be excused. I told it to sit and learn. He was fishing, I said softly, for the story I have not told him. Elder wisdom for mornings when the past knocks wearing someone else's badge if a truth is coming anyway. Put on your good sweater and walk it through the front door yourself. Secrets rot in crawl spaces. They breathe fine in kitchens. Franklin slid a neatly clipped set of emails toward us, the PI's inquiry. The archive's response polite, stern. The second attempt, where medical necessity grew synonyms like IV genetic risk. Urgent care decisions. Familial clarity. Rachel traced the dates with her finger, not because the digits might change, but because touch can persuade history to speak plainly. I've told Dylan pieces, I said. I told him his father and I wanted him so much we signed our names while he slept. I never told him about the letter his first mother wrote, the one that said, "Please give him books and a porch and a person who tells the truth." I exhaled. I postponed the rest until I could do it without shaking. "We can invite him today," Rachel said. "Not pushing offering. We'll tell him in nouns. No stage lights. No villains. If he's been led to think a paper will make him safer, let's give him the paper that actually does." Franklin nodded. "And I'll speak to the adoption unit about process in case he wants access later. Today. Kitchen first, courthouse later." "Light joke number 1, I told the stapler on Franklin's desk. You're coming to the kitchen if anyone tries to staple feelings." And it kept its metal dignity. We called Dylan. He answered with the exhausted tone of a man whose plan had found a broom closet. "Can you come by?" I asked. "I have cake left and a story that refuses to be told by rumor." He arrived 20 minutes later, no Lana. Just the face I've known in 5 decades of sizes. In the kitchen. We sat at the table that has forgiven more dinner conversations than any courtroom ever will. Rachel poured tea, the ceremony we use when words might wobble. "I love you," I began, loud enough to register, soft enough to land. "Before you were ours, you were already yours. We adopted you when you were 3 weeks old. Your first mother loved you in sentences that knew when to end with a period instead of a comma. She wrote us a letter, no adjectives, about us. Just wishes for you. I kept it. I will give it to you when you want it." He stared at his hands like they had just introduced themselves. What? Why now?" His voice wasn't angry. It was newly built. "Because secrecy and privacy are different furniture," I said. "Secrecy hides. Privacy covers until it's warm enough to uncover. I wanted warmth. I should have set the table earlier." Rachel slid the competence letter and the bruise photos aside today's weather, not tonight's astronomy, and placed a small envelope between us. "I wrote this," she said, "months ago, when Mom first wrote me. It says hello in lawyer and human. You can read it now or later." He looked at her, trying on a new geometry. "I'm Rachel," she said. "I'm not a replacement for anything. I'm a person who has many nouns and a tone apparently inherited." He almost smiled, then his face did the terrible math of recent days. Lana said. He paused. Edited. I was scared. Money. Control. Everyone in my office says POA or doom. Then the PI said records would tell us what we needed about risks. Academic phrase of the day. Right to origins, the public argument that adoptees have a moral and sometimes legal claim to know their biological background, while birth parents have a claim to privacy, and adoptive families have claims to stability. Countries and states disagree about what to open and when. The debate balances identity, consent, and harm in our kitchen. The balance looked like an envelope written before anyone raised a hand at a birthday. I reached into the drawer where truth had waited, facing down like art resting. I set two things on the table: a photocopy of the adoption decree names, blacked in the parts that weren't ours to share yet, and the first mother's letter handwritten. Blue ink. Edges softened by time like a well-read prayer. She says you love the sound of the dryer. I smiled. Throat doing its protest quietly. She says you kicked when the washing machine spun. She asked for books. And we gave you a library card like a baptism. His cheeks did the fragile flush that belongs to people discovering their own origins aren't an accusation. Why didn't you tell me when I was little? Because I wanted to do it right and got spooked by the idea of wrong, I said. I thought 15 would be better than 5, then 25 better than 15. Then your father got sick, and grief turned calendars into oatmeal. I'm sorry. He nodded. The kind of nod that agrees to stay in the room with complicated furniture. I hired a PI, he admitted, eyes not hiding. I told myself it was for medical reasons. Mostly it was because I felt unmoored and wanted a map. Maps are honest when they show unbuilt roads, Rachel said. Today we're drawing one with you holding the pen. Quirky, odd sidebar, antique maps often printed sea monsters where the cartographer didn't know the coastline. The monsters weren't warnings so much as confessions. Here be I don't know. I think of that whenever a family chart leaves a corner blank. The honest thing isn't to fake a shore, it's to mark the mystery without feeding it teeth. We talked like people who had stopped rehearsing for the wrong play. I told him how the agency worker cried in her car after we signed. I told him the porch stories his father loved, the way he'd walk circles to lull him to sleep 12 laps exactly. Our early metronome. Rachel told him how she and I wrote careful letters for months. No gush, all nouns. He listened as if his life had switched to closed captions and he could finally read it at his own pace. Will I meet her? He asked, glancing at Rachel, whose face held both answers and a healthy respect for no. Only if she wants, I said. Only if you do. Only when all parties can speak without someone else throwing their voice. We will hire a social worker who knows which doors should open softly. He breathed. Lana won't like that I didn't bring her. Lana doesn't get to referee this, I said. Gentle but granite. She will either become fluent in boundaries or she will take a remedial class elsewhere. Light joke number 2. I told the motion light under the cabinet it could turn on if the sentence needed a drum roll. It glowed obligingly, then went back to work. We move from identity to repair because days are greedy and want both. Rachel laid out a budget template that looked like a boring miracle. 1 column for panic, she said. 1 for facts. Panic gets tea. Facts get math. We will not sell this house to solve a feeling. We will. However, open every bill and call every creditor and make a plan that doesn't use anyone's face as a lever. Dylan nodded again, then looked at my cheek as if noticing it for the first time with full eyes. I'm sorry for letting anyone talk to you like a problem, he said. I'm also sorry if I ever tried to staple feelings. He flicked a glance toward Franklin's stapler in my bag and managed a real smile. Light joke number 3. We've put the stapler on a performance improvement plan, I said. It understands. We wrote 3 things on an index card together for the living room choir, each of us choosing 1 line. In our own hand, what we accept origins without blame, me. What we expect money plans that don't use fear as a spreadsheet, Rachel. What we will do, ask for names before we borrow monsters, Dylan. He taped it beside Dr. Patel's letter, his hand steady, then stayed for soup because soup is the diploma ceremony of hard conversations. We didn't solve everything. We turned on 3 lamps, called a creditor, prefix later to 2 mistakes. and decided that Sunday afternoons would be ours. For a while, no spouses. No scripts. Just nouns and perhaps lemon bars of unreliable texture before he left. Dylan stood in the doorway the way he did when he was small and wanted permission to go outside and be brave. "Can I read the letter?" he asked, nodding at the envelope from his first mother. "Yes," I said. "Here, or home." "Here," he decided, and sat back down, the house adjusting its breath around a boy who had always been ours, reading the proof that he had always been loved. He read slowly. He didn't rush the dryer part. He laughed at the washing machine sentence. He folded the page like a map that now knew its corners. When he was gone, no slam. Just the decent click of a door that had learned Rachel and I watched the motion light glow once and then dim as if the house itself had nodded. I sent Franklin a brief kitchen meeting, identity conversation. Card taped, panic column quarantined. He replied with a single check mark, the lawyerly emoji for proceed. I rinsed the cups and set them upside down like little domes of truce. The bruise on my cheek softened toward olive, the stage where hurt starts taking notes for the next time it refuses to return. I turned off the lamp that halos without preaching. And the night, well-trained, chose dim. By afternoon, the house remembered how to exhale without asking permission. Rachel and I set 2 mugs between us and let the steam occupy the middle, like a mediator who builds in fragrance. We had told the truth that wanted telling. Now came the maintenance calls. Letters. The small verbs that turn a day into a structure. First, the courtesy no one likes, but everyone deserves. I dialed Adult Protective Services to report the slap and the pressure about selling. I didn't dramatize. I time-stamped. "We'll open a file," the worker said. Voice brisk but not unkind. "Your doctor's note helps. You may be contacted for a short, trauma-informed interview." She spelled her name slowly. I wrote it down the way you do when you want a future judge to admire your penmanship. Elder wisdom for afternoons when you'd rather nap even when you don't need rescuing. Document anyway. Paper remembers on the days you are busy living. Next, a call to the adoption agency. Not to pry, only to plant courtesy in the soil. I told the case archivist, soft voice. Militant taps that Dylan now knew he was adopted and that we would contact their post-adoption services if he asked to search. "Thank you," she said, sounding relieved to be included in nouns that weren't disasters. "We'll note that all parties prefer calm doors." Rachel tapped her pen against a legal pad and wrote a short script for me to use if APS or anyone else called. "When I was mid-laundry, I am safe. I do not consent to surprise signatures. Please schedule a time when my attorney or daughter can be present." I practiced once. The sentence fit. Quirky odd. Sidebar deadbolts are graded like report cards. NC Grade 1 is the honor student tested to hold up to 10 strikes of 75 pounds. Grade 2, passes with pride. Grade 3 is the diploma you keep in a drawer. We'd installed a Grade 1. I patted it the way you pat a dog that has learned stay. Rachel opened her laptop. 2 more things, she said. 1. We send Dylan and Lana a calm, written boundary letter so the kitchen conversation can't be misremembered. 2. We consider supported decision-making. Academic phrase of the day. Supported decision-making, SDM. The public argument that instead of rushing elders into guardianship or broad powers of attorney, you formalize a circle of helpers who assist with decisions while the person retains their rights. Courts and scholars debate when SDM is enough and when guardianship is necessary. The trend says dignity likes scaffolding more than cages. I like scaffolding, I said, and I like writing the names of who's allowed to hold the ladder. We drafted my SDM agreement right there, Health Dr. Patel and Rachel as supports, Money Franklin plus my friend Nora Beale, who can smell a predatory interest rate from 6 counties. Home me first, then Rachel if I'm under the weather. I initialed each section like a woman co-signing with herself. Rachel smiled. You just gave future you a flashlight. Light joke number 1. I informed the flashlight it had been promoted to executive illumination officer. It didn't blink under pressure. The doorbell rang with the posture of someone who assumes they're expected. Through the peephole, Lana, alone, holding a folder and a Tupperware that could have contained soup or theater. Rachel moved to the far end of the room, within earshot but out of the sightline, and I opened the door the width of my grade 1 sense of humor. I brought bone broth, she announced, pushing the container toward the gap as if liquid could dissolve boundaries. And the admissions packet for Maple Arms Memory Care. They can hold a room if we sign today. We're not auditioning today, I said gently. Leave the broth on the stoop. Keep your packet. Her smile tilted. You're making this difficult. I am making this precise. I lifted Dr. Patel's letter into view, and I am asking you not to repeat medical terms about me over the phone. That is practicing concern without a license. The motion light under the toe kick woke, as if to underline. Lana peered past me. Who's here? My daughter, I said, and let the word do its quiet work. She blinked new geometry again, then recovered into pitch. Families fight. We'll all laugh about this later. Later is where clean jokes live, I said. This is now. Kindly step off my porch. She tried one more angle. Dylan needs relief, the mortgage. Relief is a budget, not a relocation, I said. Send your numbers by email. We'll meet them with math. Light joke number 2. I told the bone broth that we only seat guests with reservations. It sat obediently, cooling into its best self. When the door clicked shut, Rachel exhaled a laugh that had been holding its breath. You kept it surgical, she said. I saved the messy for the soup, I replied. Help me label this no thanks, so I don't confuse it with dinner. We wrote the boundary letter next courteous, unambiguous. With anchors, you could moor a ferry to no entry without consent. No contact with facilities or physicians on my behalf. Communications in writing. All financial discussions routed through Franklin. We CC'd Dylan and added a line I hoped would find him where fear had been feeding him. I will discuss money with you on Sunday at 2. Not to shame you, but to keep you from borrowing stories that hurt us. Rachel hit send, then we called Detective Ramos, Franklin's favorite straight arrow, to ask if our kitchen recording needed a bow. Keep the original. Timestamp preserved, he said. If you send a copy, use a share link that notes when it was accessed, and make a list of any witness names who saw the bruise. I texted Miss Klein next door, the lemon cookie philanthropist, and asked if she'd be willing to write a sentence about what she heard yesterday. She replied with a thumbs up and 3 minutes later, a photo of a lined card, heard a slap, 2:03 p.m. Heard Miriam say, do not hit me in my kitchen. I was watering geraniums. Klein. It looked like scripture for small civilizations. I forwarded it to Franklin with a note, Geranium Doctrine, now in force. Quirky, odd, sidebar geraniums aren't fussy about being moved, which is why gossip spreads so quickly over fences. The plant and the news both tolerate relocation. Miss Klein's geraniums are practically journalists. Around 4. Dylan texted I got the letter. Sunday at 2 works. I'll come alone. Relief isn't glamorous, but it's the best guest. We filled the waiting with errands that felt like voter turnout. I bought a locking pill organizer. Rachel set up 2-factor on my bank. We labeled a red folder, emergency, and a green one, eventually, because the brain likes colors that match its calendar. Light joke number 3. I told the pill organizer it was now Secretary of Interior. It clicked once in solemn acceptance. We closed the day at Nora Beale's kitchen, my budget buddy with the good calculator and a fridge that hosts the town. Nora listened to numbers the way a piano tuner listened to a single wire. You're cash okay, she pronounced. You need a better insurance deductible and someone to scold your internet bill. She looked at Rachel, then at me. And you need Thursdays for soup. Those save line items you can't write down. We mapped a plan that could survive an audit cell nothing. restructure the cable package. Ask Dylan to bring over his bills like a person seeking repair, not rescue. Rachel drafted a one-page money truce, no decisions over $500 without a 24-hour thinking period, no debts co-signed without Franklin, no using emergency for anything that isn't wet, on fire, or on the roof. Back home. The sky installed its dimmer correctly. I taped today's new index card on the living room choir. What we accept scaffolding that lets dignity climb. What we expect written boundaries that can't be gaslit. What we will do, replace panic with procedures. One tea at a time. Rachel gathered her tote. Text me if anyone knocks, she said. Answer only if they brought verbs. After she left, I stood in the doorway of the stairwell where yesterday's noise tried to move in and let the motion light do its small miracle. The baseboards glowed. A low runway guiding feet and temper. I thought of Sunday at 2 and the letter on the table and the difference between secrecy and privacy and how both had finally learned their jobs. I set the bone broth in the fridge behind the baking soda where things go to think about their behavior. I locked the grade 1. I turned off the lamp that halos without preaching and listened to the house make the sound good wood makes when it has agreed to keep you. The night, obedient to training and paperwork, chose dim and my cheek. Now the color of olives heading toward forgiveness, decided it could go to bed without rehearsing tomorrow's sentences. Sunday carried itself like a librarian cardigan weather. Orderly pages. The kind of quiet where pencils remember their manners. I set the table with mugs and a notepad. Motion lights warmed along the baseboards, and the recorder waited on the counter like a spoon that had learned discretion. At 1:58, a car door decided politely to exist. At 2:00, Dylan stood in my doorway with the face of a boy who has finally put down the monster map.
Alone, I asked.
Alone, he said. I told Lana I needed to use my own nouns.
We sat. I poured tea. The house did that gentle clearing of the throat it's learned since the grade 1 deadbolt arrived. I'm sorry, he said. First thing, both hands confessing on the table. For the slap. For the printed form. For letting my fear borrow other people's voices. I didn't hit you. But I didn't stop the episode written in my kitchen.
I accept the part that belongs to you, I said, and I will keep soup for the part that belongs to courage. Elder wisdom. For afternoons, built on repair, start with one small truth you can lift without straining. Lift the next only when your hands stop shaking. A house is renovated one hinge at a time. We open bills like civil people. Rachel Ellison had arrived a few minutes early and tucked herself at the end of the table counsel for the day. Sleeves rolled in solidarity with arithmetic. She drew 2 columns on a legal pad, facts. She labeled one, panic, the other, numbers go here, she said, tapping facts. Feelings go here until they're ready to behave. I slid over the money truce we drafted with Nora Beale. No decisions over $500 without a 24-hour wait. No new debts without Franklin Ames. Emergencies defined as wet, on fire, or on the roof. Light joke number 1. Optional 4th category is escaped raccoon, I said. But only if it's already wearing my bathrobe. Dylan snorted despite himself. A small breach in the dam where shame had been camping. We worked the numbers. Cable trim, groceries fine, a credit card sulking under a predatory rate. We call and ask for a humane APR, Rachel said. If they refuse, we move the balance to something with a conscience. She put the phone on speaker and became the kind of polite that moves mountains. Hello, we're keeping this account but not the interest rate. Would you like to remain in the family photo 10 minutes later? The supervisor agreed to step backward from the cliff. I wrote the new rate down like a benediction. Quirky, odd sidebar, call centers, tracks something called average handle time, AHT. Representatives are rewarded for speed, which is why you often hear a rush hiding behind kindness. If you say, "I'm not recording this call, but I am taking notes for my attorney," you can watch AHT lose the argument to longevity. Supervisors arrive. Empathy locates a chair, and numbers begin to practice decency.
We took turns reading lines from the supported decision-making agreement, out loud so the room could memorize us. "I am the decider," I said. Calm. Rachel and Franklin are supports. Dylan added himself to the money conversation's welcome line. "No signatures for me," he said. "Just a chair at the table." "Good. Chairs stabilize rooms."
He pulled a folded sheet from his pocket. "This is the message I drafted to Lana," he said, voice steadying by inches. "It says I'll be handling my family's business with respect, that her words about quiet dementia have to stop. That the slap was a crime I didn't witness and won't minimize. It says I'll talk money with her when she can use indoor voices and not confuse urgency with gravity." Rachel nodded. "Send it. Then put your phone face down for the hour." He did. The room exhaled. Academic phrase of the day, boundary maintenance. The public argument in sociology that groups and families remain healthy when they can mark who belongs where, who may cross which thresholds, and which rituals repair breaches. Critics say boundaries can become walls. Advocates say without them. You have drafts, not homes, today. Our thresholds had labels and our doors had polite locks. We reviewed Dr. Patel's letter one more time. Then Miss Klein's geranium doctrine card. Then the timeline. Rachel stapled copies because some artifacts like to travel in packs. "APS will call," she reminded me. "Your script is on the fridge. A detective may ask for a formal statement. You can schedule. You can bring me. You can say no to surprise."
"Will the kitchen recording help?" Dylan asked.
"It's an audio diary," Rachel said. "If this turns into a case, it shows tone, not just words. The law likes receipts. It also likes rooms that sound like you."
"Light joke number 2, I patted the recorder. "Court reporter," I murmured. "You're doing beautifully. No need for a dramatic arc." It blinked its little red eye as if blushing.
We called Detective Ramos together. He answered in the key of reasonable. "We'll pick up your statement Tuesday," he said. "No rush. Bring your documentation. And Miss Cole, good job labeling your baseboards. Your house testifies even when you're asleep." At 2:47 the doorbell pecked. Through the peephole, Lana. Alone. Tight ponytail. Folder. Rachel raised an eyebrow. "Your house? Your script," she whispered. I opened the door 3 inches and kept compassion inside where the tea lived. "Dylan!" Lana called past me, voice high with urgency. "We need to talk." "Text me," he said from the table, without standing. "I'm in a meeting." She tried to hand me a new packet Maple Arms again. Move-in specials circled like coupons for dignity. "You're making this harder than it needs to be," she insisted.
"Hard is not the same as wrong," I said, softly. "Leave what you brought. We'll read what's true and recycle the rest."
Her eyes glassed. "You're letting strangers replace family." "I'm letting grown-ups replace panic," I answered, "and I'm asking you to join the former." Light joke number 3. I tipped my head at the motion light. "Even the baseboards have learned boundaries," I said. "You can too." The light did its shy glow. The door did its decent close. We listened to her heels write an essay no one assigned along the walkway. We returned to facts. Dylan called his HR line and increased the automatic deposit to savings by $50. A microscopic but moral victory. He wrote a note to himself, "Tuesdays at 6 budget hour with Mom." We penciled Sunday soup on the calendar like it had always been there. The house hummed along, pleased with our paperwork. "Tell me what to do when I feel the need to fix everything at once," he said finally. Tired and more himself than I've seen him in months. "Drink water," I said. "Then do 1 verb, not 3. 1, Rachel added, and text me the verb you chose so a witness exists. Witnesses keep verbs honest. We ate lemon bars whose texture had not improved since Wednesday. Their honesty endeared them to me. We did not talk about origin stories or first mothers or PIs or prosecutions. We let the afternoon practice being survivable. At 3:30, his phone buzzed 4 times in a row. He flipped it over without reading. Tuesday at 6, he said. Sunday soup. Thursdays for boundaries. He stood, taller by nothing visible and everything that matters. At the door, he touched the new deadbolt like a man greeting a neighbor he intends to keep. Grade 1, he asked. Honor student, I said, holds its ground. He laughed and left. The house did its polite exhale. Rachel gathered the stack letters, truce, receipts, and set them in the red emergency folder because sometimes the emergency is we forgot we're allowed to go slow. Quirky, odd sidebar, 2 tea cools, about 2 degrees per minute at room temperature. That's how long you have to sit before you can drink without a burned tongue. I've started timing hard conversations by tea instead of clocks. If we can stay with each other through 10 degrees, we can survive the paragraph we were afraid of. We finished our mugs in the kind of silence that comforts rather than accuses. Rachel wrote the day's 3-line card and slid it to me for approval. What we accept repairs measured in teaspoons. What we expect doors that open only when asked. What we will do, keep panic in the column where it can't sign checks. Approved. Taped. I texted Franklin a summary. He replied with the lawyer's lullaby, proceed. APS pinged to schedule Tuesday. Ramos confirmed. Nora sent a thumbs up and a photo of a soup pot big enough to be a precinct. The baseboards glowed once. Satisfied. I set the recorder to sleep, smoothed the tablecloth as if it were a page, and turned off the lamp that halos without preaching. Night kept its promise and chose dim. My cheek. Now the color of old gold, the Bruce's final hymn retired without commentary. The house. Proud of its grade 1 spine and its sensible lights. Agreed to keep us 1 hinge at a time. Monday put its clipboard on the counter and asked for nouns. I brewed tea that knew how to behave in a courthouse and dressed in the cardigan that convinces pens to sign the right lines. Today was for Tidy Verb's APS interview. Detective Ramos's statement, bank 2-factor check. And a small field trip to the hardware store for a second motion light because my baseboards have started a union. APS called at 9:02 on the dot. The caseworker, Miss Jen Park, spoke in a voice that could iron a shirt over the phone. This is a non-emergency follow-up, she said. We'll keep it short. We'll keep it clear. We sat at the kitchen table. I put the recorder beside the spoon as if it were another piece of silverware. She asked for dates, times. Who said what? Who witnessed? And what I wanted to happen next. I answered like I was reading a recipe I'd perfected Wednesday, 2:03 p.m. Open hand. Sell the house. Bruce documented by Dr. Patel. Miss Klein watering geraniums. Dylan present. Lana the actor with most lines. Boundaries written and sent. Sunday meeting accomplished. More meetings planned. What outcome, she asked. I want safety that doesn't humiliate, I said. No contact without invitation. A note in your file that says I'm safe, competent, supported, and not shopping for cages. She typed with the brisk dignity of someone who respects verbs. Done, she said. You'll receive a letter with your case number and an invitation to call me if the situation changes. The letter uses official words. Ignore the tone and keep the phone number. Elder wisdom for mornings that measure your life with clipboards when a form asks you to define what you need. Write the smallest true thing you can keep feeding safety, time, clarity. Large wishes starve, small ones learn to cook. At 10. Detective Ramos arrived wearing the sort of plain tie that never pretends to be a personality. He glanced at the motion light glow and nodded like a man who respects electrical boundaries. We sat. He requested the kitchen audio. I handed him a copy while the original went back into the drawer that knows its job. "May I see the boundary letter you sent?" he asked. I showed him the printout and the read receipts. "Good," he said. "The law loves boring proof." He took my statement, reframed none of it, and finished with a sentence I'd like embroidered, "You set limits without theater. Juries trust kitchens that sound like yours." He left his card and a gentle warning. "If anyone shows up and won't leave, don't negotiate through wood. Call us. Your door is not a podium." "Light joke number 1, grade 1 deadbolt has tenure," I told him. "But we'll loop you in before it needs sabbatical." He almost smiled. "Which is a high compliment from a tie like that." Rachel texted, "HR meeting moved. I'm free at noon." Bank check. We walked to the branch where the pens are tethered like unruly balloons. The manager recognized me from last week's freeze and greeted us in the special bank dialect that apologizes without admitting fault. We added a note to my profile, "No changes by phone, in person with ID, and passphrase only." I chose a passphrase that sings but doesn't perform. We also set alerts for any curious attempts to access my line of credit. He offered a product with a fee. I offered him a look I learned from motherhood. "Let's stay boring," I said. We shook on it. Academic phrase of the day rolls strain. The public argument in sociology that a person gets stressed when the duties of their roles daughter, caregiver, spouse, parent, worker collide or pile up. People often try to simplify other people so their own strain declines. The correction is boundaries, not control. Support, not shortcuts. When Lana tried to shrink me to problem, she was solving her strain, not my life. On the way home, we bought another motion light and a doorbell camera with a chime that doesn't sound like it's judging you in the hardware aisle. I lectured lightly to the shelves about honesty grades. A clerk nodded like a cousin. Quirky, odd sidebar doorbell cameras record in short bursts called clips. Often 15 to 30 seconds, your brain prefers stories with beginnings and endings. So many systems add a few seconds before motion triggers a little prelude called pre-roll. Translation. The camera remembers the moment before the moment, which is occasionally a miracle. At 1, we had our supported decision-making papers notarized at the library because libraries are churches for paperwork. The notary, a woman with a stamp that respected wrists, checked our IDs, watched our pens move, and pressed her seal like blessing bread. We celebrated by walking the large print aisles and choosing a cookbook that doesn't scoff at canned beans. Back home, I reheated soup and set aside a bowl for Nora Beale, who texts I'm coming in hot whenever she's cold, while we waited. I wrote a letter to my future self because she deserved a note in a handwriting she remembers. You are allowed to change your mind about who holds keys. You are allowed to ask for handrails twice. You are allowed to postpone hard calls until the tea cools exactly 10 degrees. I tucked it behind the emergency folder where courage naps. At 3 sharp, the doorbell chimed its modest chime. Lana. Again, alone. Again, hair smoother, folder thicker, smile powdered with contrition. Rachel slid to the end of the hallway where she could be witness without theater. Motion light sighed awake. The door camera blinked its unblaming eye. Can we talk? Lana asked. Yes, I said, through the door. It's a good listener. She swallowed that and tried a different angle. I overreacted, she said. I'm under stress. My mother is sick. I shouldn't have. She lifted a hand, not touching the word slap, but inviting it to the porch. Can we reset? Reset requires time and receipts, I said. Here's what it will look like. If it happens, you write an apology that names the act without adjectives. You agree in writing not to use medical words about me. You accept no contact until after your counseling intake. You stop calling facilities under my name. Then, maybe. We try coffee at a table I choose. You're punishing me, she said. I'm parenting my own safety, I said. You're invited to parent your behavior. Light joke number 2. I held up the doorbell camera manual. I now own video of my door respecting boundaries, I said. You can, too. The doorbell, proud extrovert, chimed once just to feel included. She moved to weaponize her eyes. Dylan needs me. Dylan needs budgets and Tuesdays at 6, I said. He has both. Her heels wrote another essay down the walk. I saved the clip, titled it Porch Office Hours, and placed it beside Broth Inventory 3 like a shelf of community-approved narratives. Nora arrived wearing a scarf that believed in color. I saw a ponytail storming your hydrangeas, she said. Do I need to loan you my lawyer eyebrows? We fed her soup. She fed us gossip about the internet bill, which she had threatened into good behavior for 3 other widows this week. They offer secret discounts to brave voices, she said. I speak fluent firm. We plugged in the second motion light on the back hall. The baseboards glowed as if they were proud to be public servants. You'd be amazed how many falls are just houses forgetting to say hello, Nora said, sticking the light down with a palm that knew pressure. Lights are manners. By evening, the inbox produced 3 useful chimes. APS case number emailed with the tone of institutional lullaby. Ramos confirming the audio was safely logged, and Dylan forwarding screenshots of his text to Lana plain boundaries. 0 adjectives. One sentence that made me sit down: I will not let anyone talk about my mother like a problem again. He added 2-6 confirmed. Also asked HR about EAP therapist list. Good boy. Good verbs. Rachel cleaned up the last of the lemon bars, heroically unchanged in texture, and opened her calendar. Wednesday morning I'm in court, she said. Thursday night I'm yours. We can host a tiny care versus control for Miss Klein and 2 of her fence friends. They love a laminated handout. Lamination is the cardigan of paper, I said. Perfect. Academic addendum. Procedural justice has a cousin called therapeutic jurisprudence. The public idea that how legal processes feel can heal or harm the people inside them. Today, APS and Ramos spoke in voices that didn't bruise. A notary stamped like a lullaby. A bank manager chose caution over products. None of that is flashy. It's how towns stay civilized. Before Rachel left, we practiced the door script one more time, like a play we intend to underperform. You may leave it on the stoop. Please email instead. I'm not discussing that. We took turns being the door and the person who needed it. Light joke number 3. I lowered my voice an octave, did my best imitation of the deadbolt, and announced, I have boundaries and I'm beautiful. The deadbolt declined to comment but held. At dusk, Miss Klein slid a note under my mat. Geraniums approve your porch manners. Also, choir practice on Thursday moved to 7. I taped it to the fridge beside the money truce because humor is a line item that pays dividends. I wrote the day's 3 lines for the living room choir. What we accept safety that doesn't humiliate. What we expect doors that don't negotiate with weather or people. What we will do, ask clipboards for kindness and cameras for context. The house set its shoulders the way old houses do when the joints realize they are loved. I turned off the lamp that makes a halo without preaching. And the night, trained by repetition and decent paperwork, chose dim. Somewhere. A caseworker closed the file gently, somewhere else. A notary capped her stamp like a bedtime story. Here, a mother texted her son a heart. A daughter booked a Thursday, and a baseboard light made a small runway for whoever needed to find the bathroom at 3 a.m., which tonight, mercifully, was no one. Tuesday put felt pads on its chair legs and slid into place without scuffing the floor. I woke to a kitchen that had remembered its job T set out. Recorder asleep. The grade 1 deadbolt keeping its vow without needing applause. At 9 sharp, Miss Jen Park from APS called to confirm file opened. Case classified as substantiated incident with protective factors present, which is bureaucrat for we believe you and we think you've got a village. She read me the sentence I liked best. Client expresses preferences clearly and has active supports. I pictured the phrase embroidered on a pillow, the color of common sense. Elder wisdom for days that measure in phone calls and small papers when a system finally names you correctly. Write it on an index card and tape it where you can see it on the bad mornings. Labels aren't cages when you choose them. They're railings. At 10, Detective Ramos rang with updates that sounded like nouns doing push-ups. He'd logged the kitchen audio, saved the porch clip titled Porch Office Hours, and interviewed Miss Klein, who delivered the geranium doctrine with the poise of a woman watering evidence. "We'll forward a misdemeanor battery packet to the DA," he said, "and a harassment caution for any doorstep campaigning. If she returns to lobby your hydrangeas, call us. Your door is not a microphone." He paused. "Lighter. Also, I installed baseboard lights at my mother's. You're contagious." I texted Rachel and Nora Ramos file moving. Tonight, 7 p.m., Care versus Control Porch Edition. You bring handouts? I'll bring tea. Nora answered with a pot emoji and the words stair tape in tote. Rachel sent a PDF titled Boundaries, but kindly with bullet points that didn't try to perform. Late morning belonged to money. Dylan arrived with a shoebox of receipts, like a man surrendering a small country. We sorted them at the table where numbers and soup have learned to share. Tuesdays at 6, our weekly budget hour came early this time. He added 2 automated calendar blocks, payday move, $50 call internet, ask for kindness. Light joke, number 1, if they ask why, he said. I'll tell them my mother trained my doorbell. We high-fived with pencils. We built a script for his call to the internet provider. I am a loyal customer, reevaluating rates. My peers are paying less. Would you like to match? He'd practice into his tea and then into the phone. When the agent offered a promotion for 12 months only, he said, "Let's put kindness on auto-renew." The supervisor laughed, lowered the price, and I wrote the new figure on our money truce like a note pinned to a good coat. Academic phrase of the day. Cognitive offloading, the public argument that writing things down or setting digital nudges frees your mind to do the real work. Externally stored memory isn't laziness, it's architecture. Calendars, alarms, index cards, ramps for brains that prefer not to juggle while crossing streets. We offloaded everything dentist, deadbolt checks, soup nights, call Miss Park if lamp bulbs, buy 2. At noon, Lana texted a message with punctuation rehearsed for pity. I'm in counseling like you wanted. I'll draft an apology, no adjectives, no demands. Good. Dylan replied with a single sentence they'd agreed he could send, thank you. Keep it in writing. Give us time. He put his phone face down like a man who'd met his own boundary and found the handshake agreeable. We spent the afternoon not being dramatic. I hemmed a curtain that had been pretending it needed chaos to be noticed. Dylan watered the geraniums for Miss Klein he asked first, as is now policy, and came back with a plate of lemon cookies that have achieved local office. Rachel emailed a draft supported decision-making addendum in case of hospitalization. Contact list includes Dylan for bedside logistics, but not medication decisions. It felt like a ribbon tied to a railing, decorative and strong. Quirky, odd, sidebar, hospital whiteboards. Those little erasable rectangles in patient rooms might be modern civilization's most underappreciated technology. Names of nurses. Today's goals. Pain scales that refuse poetry whiteboards lower anxiety by making care visible. We added bring dry erase marker to my go bag, because systems behave when you give them pens. At 5, I set the kettle and laid out chairs for the porch edition. Miss Klein arrived first with 2 fence friends, Arlene and Mr. Witt, who both consented to the lamination of their attention spans. Nora plunked down a roll of stair tape like a parade, and Rachel arranged handouts how to verify a prescriber, what a real POA looks like. Door scripts that don't raise blood pressure. Scaffolding versus cages, that's SDM with friendlier nouns. We are not a nonprofit. We are a neighborhood with office supplies. We began with a ritual. Everyone wrote down one boundary and read it aloud in a voice that could tuck a child into bed. I don't sign on porches, said Arlene. My stairs will shine, not slip, said Mr. Witt. I water plants and I remember slaps, said Miss Klein. To general admiration, I ask for names and spellings, I said. I tape the rail twice. Rachel ran boundaries, but kindly, like a bedtime story for adults who have seen too much daytime TV. You can be soft and specific, she said. Try, I'm not discussing that. Leave it on the stoop. Email me. Not now. This needs a witness. I'll decide after tea. She handed around laminated cards, front the phrases, back a flowchart that leads almost everything to tea or Tuesday. Detective Ramos swung by in plain clothes because his mother's baseboards had just endorsed the program. He talked briefly about doorstep harassment and when to call. Your door is not a podium, he repeated, and the porch murmured, like a choir with tennis shoes. He also showed us how his mother's baseboard lights glow our unofficial franchise. Light joke number 2 when Nora unrolled the stair tape, I said. The Department of Friction has arrived. And she saluted with the scissors. Everyone left with a yard and a laminated card. Civil defense, but cozy. We closed with soup, because soup believes in learning outcomes. People lingered to repeat the phrases, leave it on the stoop, not now. This needs a witness until their mouths believe them. The porch felt taller, my bones felt listened to. After the dishes, Dylan got a short, careful text from Lana. I'm sorry for saying your mother had quiet dementia. It was untrue and unkind. I won't contact facilities or doctors. I won't go to the house without permission. I'll send bills instead of panic. I'm starting therapy Thursday. It wasn't absolution. It was a start. He forwarded it to me and Rachel. Installment plan, he wrote. We sent back a heart and a calendar emoji for Thursday. The evening inbox brought other small kindnesses. Ms. Park emailed a PDF titled Safety Plan, Client Led, with our door scripts paraphrased into official. The bank confirmed the passphrase flag. The library held my cookbook with the good beans. Nora texted a photo of Mr. Witt's newly taped stairs and the caption, Grit is love. I believe her. We sat under the porch light and let quiet be the headline. How's your cheek? Rachel asked. I touched the last of the bruise, faint as a rumor. Learning to be background, I said, as all good injuries should. She gathered her tote. Tomorrow I'm in court at 9, she said. Text if you need me to lawyer your toaster. Light joke number 3. The toaster responded well to a stern memo. I said, we're in mediation. Before bed, I wrote the day's 3 lines for the living room choir and Dylan, without being asked. Taped them straight. What we accept, boundaries spoken gently and enforced steadily. What we expect, systems that remember our names and pronounce them right. What we will do, keep the porch a school for sentences that save ankles and afternoons. I checked the deadbolt honor student, the doorbell camera unblaming eye, the baseboard lights, small runways, and the recorder asleep. I set tomorrow's index card on the counter, call clinic, thank for photos, library beans, Dylan Tuesday 6 budget, Nora tape 2 steps for Arlene, text Miss Park porch phrases working. The night performed as trained and chose dim somewhere, A case note closed with a respectful keystroke. Somewhere else. A whiteboard carried over a nurse's name who knows how to speak first and listen longer. Here. A mother rinsed mugs. A porch retired with dignity. And a town just our block and the next two practiced a prettier habit procedure with kindness. Wednesday wore its nicest clipboard and a sweater the color of municipal wisdom. Rachel texted at 7:40 Estate Day, "Bring your calm pen." I brewed tea that knows how to sit through signatures and put the adoption letter and the confidence note into the eventually folder close enough to breathe the same air, far enough not to trip over each other. Dylan arrived with the softer face I associate with summer camp pickups and a lunch bag for later. It held lemon cookies and a note in his own handwriting. 2-6 budget, sun soup. The practice of writing things down was changing his posture one checkmark at a time. We met Franklin Ames at 10. His conference room always smells like stamps that keep their promises. "We're tuning," he said. "The way a piano man taps middle C, no drama, no disinheritance theater, just commas in better places." He opened a clean draft of my will. And we moved carefully specific gifts to people who know how to use them. Rachel gets the porch rocker with 12-lap magic. Nora Beale gets the calculator with the good ink, residuary estate, to a small trust split 3 ways, one for me if I live long enough to need a softer landing. One for June and Theo Dillon's children, very good with magnolia leaves. And one earmarked for a neighborhood fund we named Stairs and Soup. Elder wisdom for pen days when you sign for love, not revenge. Paper can carry grudges, but it prefers groceries. We drafted education trusts, age-staggered releases, so no one buys a motorcycle at 19 because grandma was sentimental. The trustee Franklin, with Rachel as successor, because both of them can say no without developing hives. Dylan read the language like a man choosing careful furniture for a narrow hallway. "I don't want my kids to learn panic math," he said. "Let them learn bean math." We smiled because beans are the curriculum this family has adopted. Quirky odd sidebar legal paper is often 24-pound weight. It feels slightly thicker than the 20-pound you buy for printers because courts like pages that can survive being handled by nervous hands. The heft is subtle but real, like self-respect in cardstock. Franklin slid over a form titled Letter of Wishes Not Binding, politely bossy. I wrote that June gets the recipe box with my mother's cake scribbles. Theo gets the toolbox labeled Do Not Lick. Both get a standing invitation to Sunday soup even when soup changes houses. I also wrote that anyone who tries to turn grief into a spreadsheet owes the family a casserole. Academic phrase of the day: intergenerational wealth. Transfer the public debate about how inheritances entrench inequality or protect dignity. Whether to tax them more. How to treat non-traditional families. And whether fair means equal or equitable. In our little republic, equity meant the kids got tuition and shoes, the block got stair tape, and I kept my porch until my porch didn't keep me. We turned to beneficiaries on my retirement accounts and life insurance. Out of the will, into the forms, Franklin said. Beneficiary designations ignore wills the way cats ignore sermons. We updated online, Rachel double-checked, I triple-checked. Dylan read the confirmation numbers like hymns. Light joke number 1, I told the beneficiary page. You are now an honest cat. And it graciously pretended to purr. At noon. Detective Ramos texted, battery packet filed. DA reviewing. No contact advisory delivered. Not vindication ventilation. I breathed deeper. We closed the drafting session with supported decision-making folded into the estate plan if future me needs more scaffolding. The circle knows which planks fit where. Franklin added a note I loved. Client prefers procedures to speeches. He knows my religion. We took our lunch to the park. June and Theo joined with peanut butter bravado. Serious about geese. Dylan sat between them like a man whose verbs have finally agreed to be boring. "We're planting basil in cups," June announced. "It likes windows." "We put tape on Miss Klein's stairs," Theo added. "Reverend, it's gritty. Grit is love," I said, and they nodded the way citizens nod when legislation makes sense. Back home, Rachel and I met Pastor Reed in the parish hall to sign the tiny papers that make a fund real. Stairs and Soup would live at the church with a ledger and many opinions. Father Andrew promised he'd audit the tape length like a benediction. We set a simple charter, 1 roll of tape per dangerous stair. 1 pot per Thursday, 1 laminated card per neighbor who asks for it. No elegy, no petitions, just stairs and Soup. Light joke number 2, I told the ledger, "You now hold the receipts of mercy." And it thudded with exactly the right gravitas. In the afternoon, Dylan and I visited his house so I could see where grandkids do their best mischief. The kitchen needed a mat, the back steps needed tape, the internet bill needed Nora. We left a yard of grit on the second step and a sticky note on the fridge. "Sunday Soup rotates here next month. Practice your ladle." Lana's apology sat on the counter, printed and signed. "I am sorry," I said, "quiet dementia. I will not contact facilities. I will not go to the house uninvited. I will attend counseling." I circled the line about counseling and wrote, "Tuesdays at 3 in the margin." Because calendars are skeletons that keep families standing. Dylan nodded and moved the note under a magnet shaped like a lighthouse. He is learning symbols that do not lie. Quirky, odd sidebar, 2 lighthouses used to flash unique patterns. Characteristics so sailors could identify them, even in fog, long, long, short. Short, long, short. I think families should, too. Our flash Soup. Tape, please. Evening drifted in like a clerk who's done this shift forever. Rachel brought over a thin blue binder with my name on the spine, Cole Estate and SDM 2025. Inside tabs that refuse melodrama: will, trusts, beneficiaries, SDM, contacts, wishes. The binder felt heavier than grief and lighter than threat. "I put copies with Franklin," she said. "Originals in his vault. Scans in your cloud. Hard passphrase with me." Dylan added the binder to the shelf where the cookbooks live. Good neighbors. We ended the day with a small ceremony. I read aloud the letter of wishes to June and Theo like a bedtime story for a future that might get too busy to sit. I told them where the recipe box sleeps and why the porch rocker counts laps. June asked if the toolbox could learn to bake. Theo suggested we put skid tape on the mixing bowl. Light joke number 3, friction improves frosting, I said. Scientists have not yet weighed in. At dusk, Miss Park emailed a closing note. "I will frame if framing bureaucracy becomes fashionable. Case remains open for 60 days for courtesy check-ins. Client-led safety plan effective. No further action at this time. Translation: keep doing what you're doing. Call us if weather changes." Ramos followed with 2 words that felt like a quilt. "We're nearby." I wrote the day's 3 new lines for the living room choir. And Dylan, with ceremonial seriousness, read them aloud before taping. "What we accept paper that keeps love honest. What we expect inheritances that buy shoes. Not silence. What we will do, make stair tape and Soup our family's lighthouse code. Academic addendum. Some call it relational autonomy. The idea that independence isn't doing everything alone. It's choosing your helpers. Today I chose a lawyer, a pastor with a ledger, a daughter with tabs, a son with Tuesdays, a detective with baseboard lights, and 2 small citizens with basil cups. Autonomy feels like chairs set exactly where you need them. Not a room with no furniture. Before bed, I placed the blue binder beside the emergency and eventually folders, like siblings learning to share a shelf. I tucked the adoption letter back where it breathes. I checked the doorbell's unblaming eye and the grade 1's silent vow. The baseboards lit their small runway. I turned off the lamp that makes a halo without preaching and listened to the house sign its treaty with the night one hinge at a time. The night, well-trained, chose dim, somewhere. A clerk filed stairs and soup under ideas that should be obvious. Somewhere else. A trust account opened its tiny mouth for the first deposit that will one day become sneakers. Here. A grandmother set down her pen. A daughter closed a binder. A son flipped his phone face down, and 2 children slept without knowing they had just inherited the world's least glamorous, richest recipes. Rails. And a calendar that tells the truth. Thursday arrived with a casserole and a clipboard. The parish hall smelled like coffee that had gone to college and chairs that knew where to stand. Stairs and Soup had its first full-scale workshop tonight sign-up sheet. Name tags. And a cash box labeled tape and beans. Rachel laid out handouts in tidy stacks, door scripts. Verify the prescriber. Supported decision-making scaffolding, not cages. And what a real poi looks like in fonts that never panic. Pastor Reed taped arrows on the floor because wayfinding is pastoral care. Nora Beale marched in with 3 industrial rolls of stair tape the color of determined asphalt. At 4, my phone hummed with nouns. Detective Ramos DA filed misdemeanor battery. Harassment caution served. Any repeat goes escalated. Relief doesn't glitter, it clicks into place like a good latch. 5 minutes later, Miss Jen Park from APS sent a check-in proud of the porch scripts. Case steady. I wrote her name on an index card under people who pronounce me correctly. Elder wisdom for evenings that turn into small-town miracles, show up early and bring pens that work. When people are given good paper and a chair, they often find their best sentences without being told. We opened at 6 on the dot, with Father Andrew's welcome and a hymn disguised as a checklist. I stood at the mic and spoke like a low lamp. This is not a scandal meeting. This is a maintenance meeting. We are here to tape, to soup, and to learn the difference between concern and control. Light joke number 1. If you came for drama, the door is heavy, bring Soup back in with you. And the room laughed like a well-oiled hinge. Mara Kinsey, our nurse with honest hands, ran meds with names. Teaching the crowd to look up an NPI like they check a weather app. She passed around a laminated card, name, NPI, license, status with a little box that said, Ghost Stop. The pharmacist demoed how to say no fax refills from the dead, and the choir clapped in 4/4 time. Quirky, sidebar. Most white plastic pill bottles are high-density polyethylene HDPE number 2 recyclable in many cities. But caps are often polypropylene number 5. Translation: your medicine cabinet is secretly a chemistry drawer. We had a bin for safe disposal and a sign that said, no orphans bring strays. People emptied drawers and consciences. Rachel taught supported decision-making like a bedtime story for grown-ups. You remain the decider, your circle holds the flashlight. She held up our signed SDM and the notary's seal. This stamp did not steal a right, she said. It named a team. Academic phrase of the day, relational autonomy. The public argument that independence grows best in company, not isolation. Critics fear interference. Advocates see handrails. Tonight, the handrails were literal. At the back table, Nora led a chorus of scissors against stair tape. Measure twice, press once, she intoned. Miss Klein demonstrated the geranium doctrine, how to write a neighbor witness card, date, time. 1 true sentence. She held up her own, heard a slap, heard, do not hit me, in my kitchen, watered geraniums. The room murmured like a jury returning with sandwiches and common sense. Around 7, Dylan slipped in, hair damp from helping June and Theo bathe, his face carrying the small pride of a man who made Tuesday at 6 an oath.
He took a stack of door scripts to hand out, on break. He held up his phone, a new text from Lana session number 1 done. Homework, write apology without excuses. Working on it. We nodded. Installment plan intact. Light joke number 2. Tell the therapist my doorbell is available for guest lectures, I said. He rolled his eyes the way sons do when their mothers hire humor to move furniture. The Q&A was my favorite kind of boring. How do I say no to a clipboard? Answer. Email me. I decide on Tuesday. What if the caregiver is great, but their boss is salesy? Answer. Keep the human. Prune the policy. Ramos gave a mini talk. Your door is not a podium, and your porch is not a suggestion box if someone won't leave. Use nouns. This is trespass. I'm calling. Then call. He also showed a photo of his mother's new baseboard lights. The room applauded like an ant. I stepped aside to sip water and found Rachel looking at the adoption letter tucked into the eventually folder I'd brought for questions that needed more than 10 minutes. You okay? She asked. I'm trying on the word grandmother like a coat that finally fits, I said. It warms everything. We closed with a ritual. Each person wrote one policy for their home and read it out loud. I don't sign on porches. My stairs will shine, not slip. Tea first. Witness welcome. Tuesday at 6. A neighborhood wrote its constitution in 10 minutes with masking tape and laughter. After cleanup. Father Andrew counted the donations with the reverence of a man who has seen what dollars do when they choose humility. Stairs and soup had enough to tape 50 steps and fund 3 months of beans. He rubber-banded the bills like they were invitations to dignity and slid them into a ledger that never gossips. Light joke number 3, I told the ledger it was the only book we keep where spoilers are encouraged. Father Andrew whispered, Amen. Back home, we practiced our own constitution. Dylan put June and Theo to bed at his house, then called to read Lana's draft apology. I am sorry I said quiet dementia and for pushing a facility. I commit to no medical claims, no visits without consent, and counseling weekly through October. I'm sorry for the slap. No adjectives, 3 verbs, a schedule. We marked it pending and asked for a signed copy for Ramos's file. Boundaries are kinder when they're printable. Miss Park texted a final good night, proud of your village. Call if the weather changes. I pinned her name to the fridge near emergency, eventually. And the blue binder of estate sanity. Franklin emailed updated PDFs, will signed, trusts funded, beneficiaries correct, subject line no drama, all decimals. We sat on the porch with our feet on the little rug that says, please. Because manners precede miracles. The night did its train thing and chose dim. Across the street, Mr. Witt tried out his new stair tape with a theatrical stomp, then saluted our porch with his flashlight as if he'd just been sworn into the Department of Friction. I saluted back with my mug. Quirky, odd sidebar, 2 salutes aren't uniform. Air Forces, Navies, and Armies angle their hands differently so sleeves and sun don't get in the way. Communities do, too. Our salute is soup spoons, index cards, and tape palms open, utensils up, grit down. Inside, I made tomorrow's list library beans, male beneficiary confirmations. Call Dr. Patel, thank you. Dylan 2, 6 budget. Lana, await signed apology. Miss Klein, deliver 2 laminated door scripts. Nora Price, more tape. Ramos confirm file status. A list is just a ladder that forgot to brag. Before sleep, I wrote the day's 3 lines for the living room choir, then handed the tape to Dylan, who has earned this small priesthood. What we accept, neighbors who practice nouns with us. What we expect, apologies with calendars attached. What we will do, keep making public safety out of private kitchens. He read them aloud like bedtime law and pressed the tape flat with the care of a man who knows railings by name. I checked the grade 1 deadbolt honor student. The doorbell camera, unblaming eye, the baseboard lights, tiny runways.
and the blue binder breathing. The House signed the treaty with its usual chorus of decent creaks. Somewhere. A DA slid our packet into a stack labeled People Who Refused Drama. Somewhere else. A choir member folded chairs without performing virtue. Here. A mother rinsed mugs. A daughter tucked handouts into a tote. A son texted Tuesday at 6 with the confidence of a man who understands beans. And 2 children slept under a roof that belongs to verbs, not rumors. The night, obedient to repetition and taped steps, chose dim. Friday moved with the quiet competence of a clerk who knows every drawer. I woke before the kettle, checked the grade 1 deadbolt honor student, and watched the baseboard lights make their small runway for a day that intended no spectacle. At 9, the mail arrived with its sensible thud beneficiary confirmations. A letter from the bank acknowledging my passphrase, and a postcard from Father Andrew with a cartoon ladder and the caption, "Stairs and soup says hi." I taped it to the fridge beside the blue binder and the money truce like a neighborhood waving from paper. At 10, Dr. Patel called, voice like a well-designed checklist. Bruise resolved, vital steady, she said. Your competence letter remains valid for 1 year. I'll renew if you wish. I thanked her for photographical kindness, which is the kind that remembers angles. You did the hard part, she said. You asked for receipts when someone offered rumors. I wrote that sentence on an index card under things to pretend I invented. Dylan arrived at noon with June and Theo basil cups in tow. Small dirt under nails. The official uniform of hope. We pressed stair tape on his back steps together. Because adhesion is a family activity. Light joke number 1, Theo solemnly asked if tape grows on stair trees. I told him yes. In the Department of Forestry and Friction. He nodded, satisfied to have a government behind him. At 1:30, the doorbell chimed modestly. Lana, alone, hair unarmed, envelope in hand. I opened the door 3 inches, our house's favorite number. She held out a printed letter. I'm sorry, she said. The right kind. I read, I am sorry I slapped you. I am sorry I used the phrase quiet dementia and contacted a facility under your name. I will not use medical terms about you. I will not visit without consent. I will attend counseling weekly through October and send proof monthly. I will not obstruct Dylan's Tuesdays at 6 or Sunday soup. Lana, she added, softer. I don't ask to come in. I wanted the paper to arrive with my face. Elder wisdom for doorstep reconciliations, accept the document, not the performance. File the nouns, let the verbs accrue interest, I said. Thank you for naming the act. Keep doing the calendar. She nodded as if calendars had finally agreed to be her language and left quietly. Heels, writing no essays. We ate grilled cheese justice on the porch. June presented a drawing our house. The baseboard lights like tiny smiles. A speech bubble from the door saying, please. Theo added a cartoon raccoon labeled Emergency Category 4, light joke number 2. Only if it's wearing my bathrobe, I reminded him. He promised to verify outfits. At 3, Detective Ramos called. DA accepted the plea to misdemeanor battery with counseling and a no-contact order except by consent, he said. Harassment warning stands. Any porch campaigning triggers arrest. Your file moves to close monitored. He paused. Tell your porch class the baseboard lights are a hit. I texted Miss Park. She replied with 2 words that felt like a shawl case study. Academic phrase of the day. Restorative pathway. The public argument that after harm. Communities can favor repair and boundaries over spectacle and exile. Apologies that name the act. Agreements with dates. Supervision that protects without humiliating. Critics fear leniency. Advocates say dignity plus structure changes more Tuesdays. Today. Our pathway had stamps, timestamps, and soup. Late afternoon brought ordinary errands promoted to sacraments. We picked up the library's bean cookbook. The librarian stamped it like a benediction. We bought fresh bulbs for the door camera and ship-shaped batteries for the baseboard moons. We delivered 2 laminated door scripts to Miss Klein, who stuck one to her fridge and one to the fence like neighborhood scripture. We checked on Mr. Witt's stairs. He stomped them again ceremonially and saluted with his flashlight, as if sworn anew. Quirky push odd sidebar basil seedlings sleep their leaves droop at night and perk by morning due to circadian rhythms, guided by phytochrome proteins that measure light like tiny librarians counting photons. Plants keep time without watches. I like to think houses do too. Once you set the metronome with tape and tea, evening dressed the parish hall in its best folding chair tuxedo. Stairs and soup held a tiny closing the loop circle. Mara reported 3 pharmacies updated their NPI checks. The medical board's memo sparked a statewide software patch that flags dead numbers like potholes. And Father Andrew flashed the ledger with delight enough donations for another 50 stairways and a quarter year of beans. Rachel presented a 1-page aftercare sheet titled, "When it calms down, keep boundaries printable." Renew competence letters annually if you like. Rotate soup. Update beneficiaries. Tape wears down, replace before it stops preaching. Light joke number 3. I told the Ledger it should run for city council on the platform "Receipts for Everyone." It declined out of humility but accepted a new rubber band with dignity. We ended on the bench outside the church, the old wood that has graduated many afternoons. Dylan read Lana's proof of counseling appointment for Thursday at 3 and put it under the lighthouse magnet. "Installment plan continues," he said. We nodded. Installments keep bridges from sagging. Back home, we practiced our constitution. The Great One exhaled its quiet vow. The doorbell's unblaming eye winked awake. The baseboards glowed their runway. The blue binder breathed on its shelf between emergency and eventually. I wrote the final 3-line card for the living room choir and read it aloud while June and Theo pretended to be jurors with cookies. What we accept kindness with math behind it. What we expect apologies that arrive with calendars. What we will do, keep the door saying please and the stairs saying stay. I taped it straight. Rachel hugged me with the quiet squeeze that fixes crooked frames. Dylan washed mugs without comment, a reliable poem. We set Sunday on the calendar for soup at his house. Tuesdays at 6 for budget hour. Thursdays for porch class when the weather behaves. No fabrications. No performative forgiveness. Just a family functioning at the speed of civics. Before bed. I stood at the stair landing where our story refused to rehearse panic again. The light made its modest halo. The floor, gritty and honest, felt like a promise under bare feet. Stay, I told the night. It did. I turned off the lamp that makes a halo without preaching, and the house signed its treaty for another day with decent creaks. Somewhere. A caseworker closed a file kindly. Somewhere else. A pharmacist taped "No Ghost NPI" a shade higher. Here. A grandmother set out bowls for tomorrow. A daughter packed laminated cards. A son flipped his phone face down at 6. And 2 children slept under a roof that now belongs to verbs, not rumors. We began with an ivory cake and an open hand that should never have been raised. From that, sting. The kitchen learned new grammar. A door that opened 3 inches. A deadbolt with manners. Baseboards that glowed like low constellations, each small device joined the chorus. We practiced the quiet bravery of paperwork, a doctor's competence letter that said breakfast was still mine to choose. A revocation notice that escorted surprise signatures back to the curb. A supported decision-making circle that preferred scaffolding to cages. We replaced rumors with receipts,
timestamps from a porch camera, a neighbor's geranium card, a detective who believed kitchens, an APS note that called me by my name and pronounced it correctly. Repair arrived in installments. A son found Tuesdays at 6 in a posture that made fear sit down. A daughter found late, kept carefully brought statutes and tea. A daughter-in-law sent an apology with verbs and dates. Then learned calendars the hard way. A town taped stairs, learned prescribers by number, formed a fund with a ledger that does not gossip, and decided soup counts as infrastructure. We wrote door scripts that sounded like lullabies for adults. Leave it on the stoop. Not now. This needs a witness. I'll decide after tea. If you're hearing this, where the night has finally learned to dim, let your house learn our small habits. Check the rails. Tape the step. Choose a passphrase that sings without performing. Ask systems to speak kindly and hold them to it. Write the 3-line constitution you can live by: what you accept, what you expect, what you will do, and tape it where your morning eyes will read it before panic wakes. Invite neighbors into nouns, keep your humor where it behaves, and your anger leashed to procedure. We didn't triumph, we maintained, and maintaining, done together, is how ordinary people keep the floor under their feet.